Good afternoon, my friends. This is Paul, and today I'm going to be reviewing to you the fourth wave of DLC for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe's Booster Course Pack. Just as Nintendo is improving the presentation of the tracks in this DLC, I'm going to be improving this video, so I hope you like the new structure. Without further ado, let's get into it. This wave contains Birdo as a new playable character. I am not particularly excited because I was never a huge fan of Birdo, and characters don't mean much. I'm more of a tracks kind of guy, but it's nice for people that complained about Mario Kart 8's roster. As far as the tracks, we have Amsterdam Drift from Mario Kart Tour, Riverside Park from Mario Kart Super Circuit, DK Summit from Mario Kart Wii, a brand new course, Yoshis Island, Bangkok Rush from Mario Kart Tour, Mario Circuit from Mario Kart DS, Waluigi Stadium from Mario Kart Double Dash, and Singapore Speedway from Mario Kart Tour. Yes, 3 Mario Kart Tour tracks. Just because Amsterdam Drift happens to be named after a problem that Nintendo's Joy-Con control sticks have doesn't mean that it's a bad track. It may seem like it's yet another Mario Kart Tour city track, but it actually feels very distinct on each lap, as the Mario Kart Tour city tracks tend to have something going on each lap. The first lap feels a lot like Daisy Hills from Mario Kart 7, with a glider ramp early on that takes you through some windmills. Then on the second lap you get an underwater section, which is really cool. I love it when Mario Kart 8 Deluxe's DLC actually introduces the elements that made Mario Kart 8 so special. But then the final lap has another underwater section that ends off beautifully with a race through a flower garden. Now, you don't want to look too closely at the flowers because it seems like Nintendo just copied and pasted the flowers and then made them different colors so that they looked more beautiful, but it is still pretty nice when you're going through it quickly. Overall, I think this is one of the most visually distinct city tracks so far. I don't have much attachment to the places in the city tracks, but I do think it was a good time, and the visuals have definitely stepped up their game, which is a running theme for the rest of these tracks, as you'll soon see. Riverside Park is gorgeous. I absolutely love the lighting, and I love the fact that even though this is a Super Circuit track, the team decided to make it an actual 3D with varying levels of elevation, and the lighting engine just really helps the track feel dynamic. You start out by going through a jungle-type forest, and then eventually through a cave, only for you to jump out of the waterfall to hit the finish line. It feels like another very dynamic track. They have walking piranha plants that have items blowing out of their mouths that you can get them to drop by either running into them or I think hitting them with the shell. I found out the hard way by running into them. It's kind of a short track, as seems to be the pattern with Super Circuit tracks, but boy is it breathtaking and a lot of fun while it lasts. Since I just reviewed Mario Kart Wii, I'm pretty familiar with DK Summit, as it was definitely one of the better tracks in that game, as it simulated doing tricks off of half pipes like real skiers and skateboarders would do, and it replicated that pretty well. I think this remake is for the most part very faithful to the original. After you go through the canon, it changes it to a glider section instead of just an automated cutscene of the racers flying forward, which is fine, but I do wish there could have been like interactive elements while flying, such as, I don't know, coins to grab or something to make it better. But I do like how, just like in the previous wave of DLC, the half-pipe trick ramps temporarily put your cart in anti-gravity. I don't think that really changes things a whole lot, unless maybe you bump into a player also doing a trick. But it's a nice touch that they're trying to incorporate anti-gravity. It's much better doing the tricks off of the snow bumps and the ramps, because now your characters aren't as loud as they were in Mario Kart Wii, and the tricks don't make you stay in the air for a ridiculous amount of time. Then when you get to the part where there's snow and the trick ramps where you got the shy guys on skis, they feel so satisfying, especially when the crowd cheers for you. I also think the music does a great job of feeling evolved enough while keeping in some of the more chiptune elements of the original tune. So it does a fine job of balancing making it too much Mario Kart 8, while at the same time making it also similar enough to Mario Kart Wii. So overall, I think this was a brilliant conversion. It looks much better. It's not one of the most graphically mind-blowing courses, and also DK? Since when does Donkey Kong have ice physics? I know Tropical Freeze existed, but Mario Kart Wii came out before that, so maybe it was foreshadowing. Overall, I think it's a fun course, and if you haven't played it in Mario Kart Wii, here's the definitive way to play it. As stated previously, Yoshi's Island is a brand new track based off of Super Mario World 2 Yoshi's Island. I haven't played a whole lot of Yoshi's Island because I'm not the biggest fan of how Super Nintendo games control, but I have played most of the original Woolly World and all of Poochie and Yoshi's Woolly World, so I can kind of appreciate how far this has come in radically transforming a 2D platformer. The visuals look amazing, feeling like they are a perfect evolution of the Super Nintendo graphics, as they feel like the next natural step if there were to have been an actual direct follow-up in 3D. There's a lot of enemies from the game, such as the stilt guys and the storks. Admittedly, the storks don't actually harm you, they kind of just fly in the background. The seasons are represented, you get to drive through the clouds. There are 2 gliding sections, including one where you can actually use strategic maneuvering while gliding, as if you hit the question mark cloud, then a red pathway appears that if you drive on it until the end, then you can go through the goal ring that usually marks the end of stages in the Yoshi games. I also like the various Easter eggs that this track has, such as the music being a remix of the obstacle course theme. There's the fact that the coins make Super Nintendo-esque sound effects, and they're also dinosaur coins, and when you start and end the race, they have custom music based on the Yoshi's Island series. Overall, I had so much fun racing on this, not only because it was a brilliant conversion, but it also just had so much variety. It had an underwater section, it had a lot of different scenic stuff, 2 glider ramps, and it really felt like Nintendo actually tried to make this up to the standard of Mario Kart 8. Bangkok Rush is probably the hardest tour track in this wave to describe, but it's still a really good track. It has a lot of visual variety, the graphics are really gorgeous. Nintendo has definitely stepped up their game from the previous wave, and I just absolutely love the various set pieces you can go through, such as bouncing off of umbrella tops, driving through a fruit stall. There's a cool gliding section where you go over a huge part of the city, and the music is amazing. I really love the big band style here. It really feels exciting and is probably the best tune in this bunch, although that's debatable, because I really love the remix of the obstacle course in the Yoshi's Island track. I know people complain too much about there being too many Mario Kart Tour tracks, but I think the ones in this wave prove that tour tracks can absolutely still be really amazing, despite being from one of the most hated Mario Kart games. So if the tracks end up following the same pattern as these ones, then I might actually get excited for the upcoming waves. Mario Circuit is the only track in this pack that I found to just be okay. But even okay is a heck of a lot better than my reactions to a lot of the tracks in the previous waves. I like the lighting change that happens when you go through the forest. I don't remember if the forest was part of the original track or not, but I do like the nice touch that on the 3rd lap, the Wiggler that you can see sleeping in the background wakes up and actually wanders onto the track. There's also piranha plants that shoot fireballs at you. It's not the most remarkable thing in the world, but it at least prevents you from feeling like you're on autopilot, as you actually have to think about how you're going to drift, or if you're going to drift at all, to avoid the fireballs. There's not really anything too crazy going on in this track, such as anti-gravity, gliding, or underwater sections, but it's still a decent time, even if, in my personal opinion, it's the worst part of the wave. Waluigi Stadium was a blast when it returned in Mario Kart Wii. It's been a while since I've played it in Double Dash, but from what I remember, it was more or less the same, just with more half-pipe trick ramps. This time around, they really radically transformed it. For one, the textures on the ground look so much better. The dirt looks basically photorealistic, and I think there's also some water effects in the dirt, unless that's just the lighting playing tricks on me. It feels more fun to do tricks because the trick ramps feel like they're higher up. There were a couple of weirdly spaced ones in Mario Kart Wii. They also took the joke of the piranha plants being hardly animated on the GameCube and Wii and just making them mechanical so that they actually have an excuse for the lazy animation. I like how Mario Kart 8 brought back the half pipes from Mario Kart Wii, and again, like DK Summit, put them in anti-gravity. But one of the coolest parts of this track is that if you're skilled enough, you can actually reach a brand new track high above the existing one, and that track is in anti-gravity. I haven't figured out how to get on the second part of the track, so I can't really commentate on how well it's implemented into the existing lineup or layout, but I can say that it is nice that they actually decided to make this track not a one-to-one recreation and actually add some Mario Kart 8 flair into it. I also like what they did with the music, where it sounds very big bandy, because the original Double Dash version sounded pretty okay. You know, I'm not the biggest fan of Double Dash's music, but that was one of the better tracks. And this remix did a good job of recapturing that excitement while also stepping it up in the audio quality. I was very surprised how well this turned out, and I hope that if they eventually decide to remake Wario Stadium from Mario Kart 64, that it gets the same level of polish and treatment as the dirt did in this track. And finally, we have Singapore Speedway. Initially, I was disappointed that this was the end of the wave, as I was like, but Yoshi's Island is the brand new track. Why not have that be the end of the wave, just like how 3DS Rainbow Road was the end of the previous wave? Thankfully, Singapore Speedway was enough of a visual spectacle that I can forgive it for its placement. It's jaw-droppingly beautiful, with the track taking place at night, so there's a lot of bright neon colors, which might be sensory overload for some people, but I found it to be beautiful. I thought that it basically felt like another Rainbow Road, with how much you would glide through the rings like you did in Rainbow Road 64. There was also a part where there were, I forgot what they're called, they're like floor panels where one side makes you go faster and the other makes you go slower, kind of like in Rainbow Road Mario Kart 8. I don't really remember what the music sounds like off the top of my head, but I'm sure once I put the audio track in, you'll probably think that it's yet another amazing remix. So even if it's another tour track closing off the wave, at least it's a beautiful one. Wave 4 is by far the best wave of the bunch yet. The graphics look so amazing. The music is really good for the most part. The tracks are the most consistently fun throughout yet, with Mario Kart Circuit only being okay, but at least it doesn't feel lazy and half-baked. I definitely think the Booster Course Pack is worth buying if you don't already have it as a bonus for the Switch Online expansion pack. Now, as far as if this is worth forgiving Nintendo for their lazy efforts in the previous tracks, it depends on if they actually did work to touch them up, like, I don't know, redoing the grass on Toad Circuit, or maybe like fixing problematic elements of the tracks like they did with Coconut Mall where they made the cars do wheelies. Still, the tracks are decent fun, but these ones by far are the best. It seems like Nintendo is just really amping up the quality as they go along. So with that, thank you very much for watching. Let me know down in the comments what you think about the video and if you have any questions. I'd like to thank my patrons Matthew Rakowski, Sploon Ghost, Splatcat, and Scooter Doodle for supporting me financially. The link will be in the description if you would like to join my Patreon. If I get enough new people, I might actually put in some more cool stuff, so consider subscribing, or not subscribing, patron Ising if you've got the budget, and until the next time, remember to keep the faith, stay epic, and God bless. Bye!